Now. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll have some more folks join here shortly throughout the duration of this. So I'll just go ahead and welcome you all here. We're glad to have you as participants in today's workshop. For those of you who have not yet met, my name is Caleb Talley. I'm the Executive Director of the Startup Junkie Foundation. For those of you who may not be familiar with Startup Junkie, we are a mission-driven organization based here in Northwest Arkansas that exists to serve innovators and entrepreneurs. We do that in two ways, largely through one-on-one consulting with anybody from that has an idea for a business up to $25 million in revenue, and then through events, whether those are networking events, happy hours, workshops, lunch and learns, or webinars just like this one, which are best to connect entrepreneurs in our community over education, motivation, inspiration, any of the Asians. We'll try to bring everybody together to support our entrepreneurial community. Today, we are excited to have the fourth session in this series with our friend Allyson Lewis of the 7-Minute Life. Allyson is the CEO and Director of Learning and Innovation of the 7-Minute Life, which is a time management company with a mission to reconnect daily productivity, human potential, and meaningful work. And this has been a great session for those of you who may have not seen the first 3 sessions that we've done so far. They're on our YouTube page. I will link those into the email that I send out as a follow-up to everyone. But without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Allyson.
Well, Caleb, thank you for having me here today. The people that have come to this class, the 7-Minute Life is a time management company. And I want to just start with the fact that if you're an entrepreneur on this call, you need to understand that being an entrepreneur has been the hardest thing I've ever done. I was a senior executive with Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch for 31 years, but branching out on my own, Caleb, becoming the CEO, the financial person, the salesperson, what you're doing at Startup Junkie is really important. And I think that community that you've created is more valuable than anything. I would encourage people to come to the events, to reach out specifically to you, Caleb. I'm going to hopefully swamp you with calls. Your whole point of Startup Junkie is to truly help people. When I was an entrepreneur 5 years ago, I knew so little about how to raise capital with safes and how to find the right startup attorneys and how to get into the accelerator program. So Caleb, thanks for everything that you are doing. There are a lot of resources that I'm sure a lot of people on these calls have. So I'm just giving you a big shout out to your organization. Today we're going to be talking about happiness in the workplace. It seems like a really soft area, but as we look at where the workplace is, it's not just happiness that we're dealing with, it's a mental health crisis. So I'm going to ask you to grab a pen and a piece of paper. And we're going to go ahead and jump right in. If I see some people just beginning to chat, and that's Caleb. So I would love to have more than just Caleb. I'd like to know your name, where you're from, the name of your business, and if you've been to some of these classes before. I'd like to, it's a small group, and so let us know who you are and how we can help. Caleb, I'm going to dive in to what we're talking about today. So please let me know that you can see my screen. I did a whole class not long ago where people were like, that was really good, but I couldn't see anything.
We can see it.
Great. Start with happiness, reigniting your passion and purpose at work. That's what we do as a time management company. And I want you to really maybe take some of these notes down. There's a real problem in the workplace, whether you're in a big company with an entrepreneur or thinking about going out. There is a true mental health crisis. And it's not just that people are not engaged at work, they're not thriving. And, when they look at it, this is globally. But think about yourself for a moment and how happiness impacts the success of your business. This was a Gallup study that was done in 2021. And Gallup is this huge, I think 2.3 million people have been involved in these studies. And it said on a daily basis, the previous day, 41% of people were worried. 43% experienced daily stress. 24% were angry and 25% were sad. Imagine what that does to you as an entrepreneur, and imagine what that does to enormous companies. But this is the reality of where we are. And one of the things that we probably don't talk about enough on a mental health is that 24% of the workforce is actually in a clinically depressed or has been in the last 5 years. So we can no longer continue to ignore this problem. And I believe that Startup Junkie now is coming out with more and than just how to market on Facebook, how to market on LinkedIn, but truly looking at these soft skills of time management, work-life balance, stress management, team communication, and resilience. Caleb, can I get you to jump in there for just a minute about why these soft skills and human training is so important?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main key takeaways that we're seeing, especially with companies that we're working with during COVID, post-COVID, especially, is just as employee retention and employee recruitment. And I think the importance of having the emotional intelligence as an employer and an employee to understand these things, I think moving forward is going to be critical in people remaining happy with their work and employers keeping their employees happy and healthy and well and productive in the workplace, because that's just going to be a key important piece now and moving forward.
I agree. And I see that, Wendy, you've been to several of these, and Eva, this looks like what you do in the workplace. And so I'm sure that you're confident that these are the kind of things that people need. What I see is I was 43 years old. I was with Morgan Stanley at the time, senior executive, building a big business. I was a full-time working mom. I was living in this. I was living with clutter and chaos and distractions. And it wasn't just that I was disorganized and didn't have focus. There was a huge mental health component. Let me go back toward this. There was this huge mental health of feeling overwhelmed, stuck, frozen, and exhausted. Think about your day yesterday. When we talk about growing a business, we have to have energy and motivation to make the calls, to do the finances, to get out and create the innovation. And the problem is that we're so overwhelmed that we're drifting through life. I mean, this is a real thing. It's like we're on a raft in the middle of an ocean with the currents taking us wherever they can. Russia is going on. I went to the grocery store yesterday to buy a quart of milk. It was over $4. I filled up my mom's car that wasn't even on 3/8 of a tank, and it was $37. All of this stress that's coming at us as entrepreneurs, why does this all tie back? Is because of this. This is a psychological, I don't know how you would put it, but a place that we get into, that I at 43 was in, that I created what I call the cow path for my life. I was living in these default behaviors. I had faulty assumptions of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't know how to do these things, it's never been done before. And this cow path looked just like this in my own mind. As you drive around Arkansas, you see these huge acres of land, but you see these cow paths where cows go the same way time over time. And I think as entrepreneurs, we've got to really change our perception of the skill sets that we have and how we can contribute. How can we understand a problem that's big enough that somebody's willing to pay us? And we even see people that say, oh, don't pay me, I'll do that for free, because somehow we feel like we don't deserve to make money as entrepreneurs. And so these perceptions of self really do make a difference. And that perception becomes a reality. For me, at 43, it wasn't just that I was busy, it was that it affected my mental health. So Caleb, we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, I don't know where else, but I can assure you that the authenticity, if we could take a survey and a poll on this class, I would guarantee you authentically that people would feel the same way I did, living with this overwhelming, overarching need to be happy. And I'm going to explain why happiness is different than what we've thought of in the past and how it can make a real, an impact. When I'm talking about happiness, I'm not talking about just having fun, although I think that's important. I'm talking about looking at human potential. So this is where I hope you have a pen and a piece of paper, because this one slide can grow your business. We're in here to make people feel better, but also how can you increase revenues? I'm a mathematician, so I would love for you to create this axis, and I want you to think about who you are today. This is a current value of you as a, let me go back, of you as a person. We call that present value entrepreneurship. We have to believe that in the future, and I'm going to use a 10-year time frame, that in the future we can have a future value of skill sets, of understanding, of that secret sauce of what it takes to raise capital, to sell your product, that over a 10-year span we can have a future self. And I believe one of the things we need to do in business is help people first and foremost see their own human potential. We've got to get out of these cow paths. So how do you do that? I believe there are 5 sources of capital in the workplace. If we're going to reach our human potential, then we have to begin to recognize that there's something way more important than just financial capital. We have to recognize that the resources and assets we have as entrepreneurs, first is our time. Are we focusing on things that can create revenue? The second is effort. We have to find that motivation to be willing to do it. We have to find the energy, but I believe this emotional component of filling yourself up with happiness, and what does that look like? When Allyson said, hey, I know what it's like to be in a mental space where you're overwhelmed and that there is that crisis. How can you come in, Allyson, and say that happiness in the workplace matters? I'm going to show you how I believe that can happen. For a lot of people in this present value, with Russia, with prices going up, with all these things happening, COVID, this is where we are. I believe it's important to take a realistic self-awareness of saying, just looking at this list, do you feel busy, disorganized, overwhelmed, stuck, frozen, exhausted, and drifting? And I was talking to Caleb about creating a full day class about this, because imagine, we're not alone. We all feel this. So to be able to be in a room and going through real exercises about how do you fight this, it'd be so powerful. These things are a big enough problem, but stress and depression are things companies are really trying to fight and deal with, but they don't know how. So what we've done at the 7-Minute Life, and why we're talking about happiness, is that I believe every person on this call, in order to reach human potential, needs a learning roadmap. And for me, the learning roadmap begins with, how do you improve your time management? How do you understand financial documents? How do you understand how to raise capital? How do you understand how to create that marketing platform, the funnels? But all of this has to be undergirded by believing that your work matters. And so I think unless people have this sense that this is what's going to be the outcome of running a business, then making money doesn't matter. When I'm 85 years old on my deathbed, and my mom's 85, so my mom's going to be 88, so don't tell her I think I'm going to die at 85 or that she should. We want her to live to be 100. But at the age of 85, I'm not really going to care if quarter over quarter my business grew. I'm going to care about this. I'm going to care about, did I bring human potential to the workplace? That's my mission. Look at this list on the right and talk through, if we were in a class, What would it mean to reconnect with love at your workplace? To have passion, to really understand the purpose of what you do. One of the things that we see is when people are working in an organization, if a senior executive can at least tell someone, here's why you're important, here's why your job matters, it's not just about the money. It brings that sense of my work. I'm bringing value to the company. But, I look at these things like happiness. Where does it come from? I think it comes from continually growing, from attending classes like this, from becoming great at what you do, not just okay, from making a difference, challenging yourself, innovation, having that clear direction. Caleb, again, I love these when they're interactive. I'm going to stop right here and ask you, when you're seeing and dealing with entrepreneurs, because I already know the answer is yes, we need this, but how is this applying and how is this different, the work I'm doing? What are you seeing in this, and how can the people on this call benefit from this?
I think just generally in contrast to what we do with entrepreneurs, a lot of what we do is very technical driven. So when we're meeting with entrepreneurs, we're going through lean canvas business plans and marketing strategies and a lot of the formal nuts and bolts of things. And a lot of times those things are these things that people call soft skills or mental health related things are overlooked during that process. And you're dealing with entrepreneurs who are most of the people that we deal with have full-time jobs. They're building and working on these projects, these entrepreneurial projects in their free time. So you have people who are trying to stay in a job to continue to pay the bills while trying to stay motivated to go after a quote unquote passion project or something they believe is necessary, a gap in the market that they can target. So yeah, that's there. This is kind of stuff that's in the void of what where we are and where entrepreneurs are.
Caleb, I know that this is a meeting, but is it okay if I just ask if there's anyone that would like to comment on this? So
Oh,
feel
absolutely,
free
go for it.
to open. I'd like to have just a dialogue. Is there anyone on the call that has a thought about why this is important to bring back to the workplace?
You might have to twist some arms, put them on the spot.
That's okay.
Somebody
Yeah,
commented, like in a video game, trying to jump from one log to another without dying. That's a great
yeah.
analogy.
It's a great analogy. And so how do we do this? I don't want to just tell you these things. I want to give you a little background on the happiness that I'm talking about, and then I want to give you some actionable steps. First thing is that we have to learn how to improve our time management. It's seen as a soft skill, but it really is a hard skill. Time management, creating a written plan of action, a better to-do list is going to help declutter your mind. And go back, Caleb, on your website, I believe it was either the first or the second on your YouTube channel, and watch those classes on how to specifically improve your time management. But I think there's some things that we have to believe when we're in those cow paths, going down those same default behaviors. There's something that we call pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation. And I think that what entrepreneurs miss is it's not just about raising capital. It's not just about solving a problem. It's about who we are inside. And when I finally developed the clarity and the excitement of what I was selling because I believed it would solve a problem, this is the pre-contemplation where we have to get ourselves in a place. When you're working 12 hours a day, 8 or 10 hours at one job, and you're hopping in bed with your laptop at the end of the day, you have to clarify the why. All this sounds like mojo or hoopla. there's got to be more. There's got to be that drive. Motivation really means to move. It means to move forward. And we got to be in a community of somebody saying, man, that is so cool. You made that first step. But I will tell you, as I've grown both my business and a company and my business now, it takes grit. Entrepreneurship is not easy. It is where you put something in your teeth and you grind it down and you persevere, because business, it impacts our heart, body, mind, and soul. It's that humanness. So here comes the cool part. I believe that there are some things that you will have never heard of today, and that's why you need a pen. This is, I believe, underestimated. I'm not sure. There are two types of happiness. And this is what people think of in the workplace, is that I need to bring in ping pong tables or give away Starbucks gift cards. And all those things are great. They bring us short-term pleasure and enjoyment. I've taken up pickleball. I played 5 days last week. Oh, look, I won my first gold medal, pickleball. Worst level, I played the worst level, and I was just a smidge better than the other really bad players. But that just brings me enjoyment. You know, what are you doing for yourself for fun? But this is what I'm going to really spend the last few minutes that we have, the 30 minutes that we have left. It's called eudaimonic happiness. Eudaimonic happiness. It's where you step out of the noise and you start doing that internal work, that deep thinking of what is meaning and purpose. And in the workplace, I think companies, when they're working on well-being programs, have this cow path assumption that people even know what this means. And I was talking to someone yesterday and they said, look, I'm just trying to keep my head above water, getting my kids' lunch boxes ready, and you're trying to tell me I need meaning and purpose in my life. And so I believe we have to explore what that would mean. What really is it? And how can we make it matter, even when we're trying to get the soccer uniforms cleaned? So here's the origin of it, and here's how it's pronounced, eudaimonic. It's a form of happiness that is so much different than what we're used to. I love learning new things, and the concept of eudaimonic happiness, I'm working on a new book. I've published 5 books. So when they bring me in, it's not like I'm just some mojo off the street. I actually have studied this stuff for 28 years. I've published 5 books. You know, they've sold 130,000 copies. I've gone into companies, and you know what? This is what drives me, is I experience eudaimonic happiness when I'm sharing my vision and mission in the world. So what is it that brings you back that full capacity of happiness? So it goes back to the 4th century. It actually was, I think, first talked about by Aristotle. And this is that pre-contemplation part. He said, to achieve happiness, one should live their life in accordance with their virtues. And the big takeaway I'm going to take, and Caleb, don't let me forget to send out the worksheet, is that for me, when we're swimming in exhaustion, I'm not sure we really can bring our virtues to the forefront. So even if we can do that for a few minutes and recognize our work matters, we matter, we are smart enough, we are worthy of some self-care. It's okay to be happy. We need that community of people, because Aristotle said to achieve happiness, we should live in accordance with our virtues. And I'm going to physically give you a tool to do that. And Aristotle went on and he claimed that people are constantly, look at this word, striving to meet their human potential, to be their best selves. Because when we pull that out of us, that's when we find meaning and purpose in life. But I think what we've been trying to do is we've been striving only on one side of our life, only on the side that says, I need to focus my attention on the finances, the safe agreements, the marketing strategy. And all I'm going to ask is that the 7-minute life is built on a platform of just taking 7 minutes to think about your values and who you are and how life can be different. So it's that 7 minutes of time to think about these things. I'm going to go back to this piece. What would it be like if you took 7 minutes to say, today, I'm going to work on my time management? Or today, I'm going to think about what makes my work purposeful. So it's that whole, not just striving, but truly putting in time into your calendar, not a ton of time, but 7 minutes to strive towards, to reach out. And so, how do we do that? I believe that we have to understand what the words mean to create a step-by-step roadmap. When I think about words, there's an anecdotal story that says Eskimos have 30 words for snow. So when an Eskimo goes out and experiences snow, they can talk about it in a broader sense. So they experience snow differently than someone in Hot Springs, Arkansas, that we had half-inch ice last week. Or think of a wine connoisseur that has all of these words for wine. It's oaky, it's tanny, it's rich, it's deep, and I'm going out and buying a Boda box. Who's going to experience it differently? The person that has the words around it. If we want to improve our purpose and happiness, we have to begin to be able to verbalize that. So how can you reignite happiness? If I were teaching this as a curriculum to high school students, I would have them begin to explore, what would your life be like if you truly had purpose and happiness in your life? And just hearing these words make a difference, just talking about them. So when I talk about reigniting purpose, think about all the things that you could do to reignite purpose in the workplace. Even talking to someone about your passions. Why did you start the business? What's going to drive you? Or belonging in the workplace, just having one person that you can go have a coffee with. Or what kind of kindness can you do, or trust? These are words, if I were teaching a class, I would ask people to look them up. What does it mean to be curious? How can you innovate? How can you make a social impact and a difference in the world? Even hearing these words, Caleb, I'm going to come back to you. Even hearing these words, what does it do to you to see these? How does that impact your work? Truly, and that's a question.
Yeah, I think it just kind of spurs me to think about the intentionality of it. Generally speaking, creativity, passion, just makes me think about where I am as in regards to how intentional I am with being any of those things.
And so what would happen if you had a life plan of some kind that starts out with, who are you today? Who do you want to be? And how are you going to get there? We've got to keep things simple. So promoting well-being, reducing stress, creating clarity, this personal development, I think we have to write it down. I think it really goes back to taking a pen and a piece of paper and getting these things out of your head and writing them down. So this is the tool, Caleb, one of the very first tools that started it all, that if you'll remind me, I'm going to send out to the people on this call, because I don't want to just talk about happiness. I want to give you a tool that I believe can help make you happy. If truly words matter, and we go out and go to some kind of motivational class and they say, well, figure out what you value most in life. The problem is, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know the words that I could value. And so at the 7-minute life, we've created tools like this that at least give you words as a starting point. These are the same words that we looked at that are the full human potential of thriving. We thrive when we know what's most important to us. So taking this worksheet, marking off things like community or freedom, that's one of my big ones, or faith or joy or efficiency or growing, and writing those things down with your pen and a piece of paper. Again, just looking at these words, the benefit of being on this call is you can see a future of these things in your life. And so rather than just show you a blank piece of paper, I want to show you my values. My brain thinks kind of crazy. So you could go through this worksheet and just say, this is number one, this is number two. Money is important, by the way. It shouldn't be discounted. So what is it? I'm just randomly picking out things, but you could just go through that and just choose your top 10. But I like to do the deep thinking, and I don't follow the rules, Caleb. I see that your microphone is open. Do you have a comment about this?
Oh, no, I just didn't. I guess I didn't.
That's
Mute
okay.
myself.
But when I look at this, I don't want boundaries. I want my right brain to take control of all kinds of things. And you can see that some of these things like happiness and laughter go together. Compassion is a big thing, learning and growing for me. But what are those things? And then I started cheating and adding extra words to my own list because, exercise or reading or breathing or just walking outside, these little things that we don't think about. So here are mine. When I say start with happiness, people kind of roll their eyes. This is one of the most important classes we teach, but you're going to get a much bigger crowd if someone says, here's how you make $100,000 on Facebook. But you know what? If you make $100,000 on Facebook and you're not living in that striving of happiness, then it doesn't matter. Why do I share these things? Because this is what fills me with the drive. I don't want to be that motivational speaker that comes up and says, go figure it out. I want to show you how I have found the grit and the perseverance. Because when I hold this up in the morning, in fact, I get chills just looking at this. And I think, I'm going to take 7 minutes today. I physically set my timer. That's a whole nother class. And I'm going to think about my own mental health and well-being and health. Maybe that's what I'm going to focus on today. Or maybe I'm going to focus on happiness, laughter, and adventure and go out and play a terrible pickleball tournament I was just barely better than the very worst person out there, but it made me happy. Maybe I'm going to think about that. Or maybe I'm going to take 7 minutes and think about that one person. Who could I call today? Or maybe I'm going to take 10 minutes to exercise. Or maybe I'm going to call my kids and just tell them I love them. But this is what we're talking about, understanding what undergirds you. And until we can put the words around it, I don't think we can. So what the 7-minute life is doing is not just saying, go figure this out. We're giving people tangible tools. So as an entrepreneur, we went back through, I sell this stuff. This is what my company does. Imagine the excitement I have through the good and the bad and the hard. It's not just this tool. I think we've talked, Caleb, about several of these, about how to improve your time management. If you want to be happier, then you can't get everything on a to-do list done. This is that first class I think that we talked about. You can go back and watch this for free. What would happen to your happiness if you created time management skills where you took all of these things that you could do and you ran it through some kind of a filtering process, which is what we teach, and you said, these are the most important things I'll do. What would happen if during your day, instead of feeling overwhelmed, you created what we called the 5 before 11 list? What if you just did 5 really important things before 11 a.m., top priorities? If you didn't get anything else done, it'd make a huge difference. If you just created a to-do list and accomplished 5 things, 5 high-value actions over the next week, you'd accomplish 35 high-value tasks. How is that going to translate into happiness? You start getting things done that matter, that move you forward. Time management does matter. The 7-minute life is a 90-day platform. Imagine accomplishing 5 high-value tasks for the next 90 days. What would happen to your self-esteem, your perspective on yourself, if you accomplish 450 positive steps towards growing your business, reconnecting with your priorities, setting personal goals, understanding your purpose? writing down what you love to do at work and celebrating your strengths. I'm going to stop there, Caleb. I keep coming back to you. The importance of this is overwhelming. Your comments on where we are today before I kind of get so excited I can hardly stand it.
I think we get an opportunity to get some feedback from those that are on the call and see where everybody's at and how they're feeling about what they're seeing so far. If anybody's interested in chiming in.
I see some people brave enough to come into chat. Let's see what they're saying. Wendy's saying great, tons of wonderful information, and I agree. But the benefit of Startup Junkie is we can't just see tools like this, we have to be trained in how to use them. We have to be able to go in and be taught how to use these. So I'm going to have a pop quiz. Are y'all ready for the pop quiz? Some of you will have already seen it, but in chat, if you can, which tile is darker, the top one or the bottom one? And thank you. And I'm not sure what your first name is. I love your enthusiasm as a fellow older woman who wants to do more and be more intentional. I'm going to be 62 soon. And I don't want to blink my eyes and be 72 and have life not mattered. So, Caleb, which one is the darker, the top or the bottom?
I'm going to say they're the same color.
They're the same color. And you can see that when I cover up the shadows. The perspective that we look at, for most people, we think there's some kind of secret sauce where these entrepreneurs have got it all figured out, that they've got some kind of insight to something we don't have access to. It's true, really. It goes back to reading the books, to going to mentoring events, to talking to people that have already made $1 billion, to talk to people that have grown a company to $1 million in revenues or $2 million in revenues, or someone that's just getting started that you think you can look for. There's no difference between you and those people other than seeking out that knowledge, that huge human potential, understanding that you already have access to these things. It's attending classes and meeting other people and talking to them and taking advantage of the other things out there. There is a secret sauce, but it's already there. It comes from learning. So I'm going to end with just a couple of final thoughts. This kind of happiness, this pre-contemplation, this introspection, this self-reflection, we've got to make time for it. You can't just come to a webinar and all of a sudden put your arms around this. But I also don't have time as I'm not 62 yet, I will be in a few weeks, but as a 60-year-old, I don't have time to do all of that at once. So why 7 minutes? If you've been coming to these classes, they're 24 hours in the day. This is all we have to either create a life that continues to be filled with stress and exhaustion and disorganization and clutter, or tomorrow you wake up with a clean slate. I hope you'll write that down. Tomorrow's a clean slate. It doesn't matter the cow paths that we've been in or the mistakes that we've made. What matters is that today we wake up and we say, we're going to begin to read the books. We're going to begin to really focus on the things that matter. If they're 24 hours in a day, we were founded as a time management company because I was a working mom and I was exhausted. And when you wake up tomorrow and you create your to-do list, and let's say that you have 15 things on your to-do list, both at your own job or if your entrepreneurial spirit is your full job, we think we can get everything done, but guess what? We still only have 24 hours in a day. When I teach about time management, these to-do lists look awfully neat and organized, but I'm going to take each one of these 15 things and I'm going to draw them into a day. So let's say that teaching this webinar for me today is one item that's coming into my day. Well, the webinar takes an hour to teach, but it took me 2 hours to prep for it. So even though it may only show up as 1 hour on my calendar, it actually takes a lot more time. This wasn't on my calendar. So that's just one thing. What do you have on your to-do list? Let's just say that's a second activity, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's more what a to-do list feels like. It fills us with anxiety and clutter, and you hit what we call the choke point, where now all of a sudden you've got all these great ideas, you can't get all of these things done. And so it's not like you don't just get the things done, you still have the things you didn't get done yesterday and the hundreds of emails that have come in. And what that does is it puts us back in that perspective of the cow path. So the bigger question when we say start with happiness is, what can you do starting now? And this is why 7 minutes. I can't do something hard, but I can do something easy. I can realize and begin to gain an understanding that life is based on the minutes that I spend and what I focus my attention doing. Every single thing I let into my life, every action, is automatically knocking something else out. Every action as an entrepreneur, every night that you're up creating your invention or writing your business plan, every action you take knocks something else out. And what I will say it knocked out for me was sleep. It was fun. It was pickleball. It was playing tennis. Those were the things that I was losing, time with my family. And those things made me unhappy. That awareness that they're 24 hours in a day, that breaks down into 1,440 minutes. The process and the program that my company is built on is, what would life be like if you made a commitment to take just 1% of your time, 14 minutes a day, 7 minutes in the morning and 7 minutes in the evening, to do that deep thinking, to look at your priorities and to say, today mental health matters, or today getting my pitch deck done matters, or today, making 5 sales calls. Would it be easy enough just to take 7 minutes in the morning to plan your day, and then in the evening to take 7 minutes and deconstruct it, to look back and say, during the day, what did I do today that I was most grateful for? What did I really do well? How can I celebrate a win today? Those are the things that make us happy. And so the 7-minute life is such a simple thing, because we believe you can leverage 1% of your time and learn how to think about your own strengths and value, to clarify who you are and to see that North Star again, to create a plan that's beyond just a strategic plan, but a plan for how your work makes a difference, and to prioritize your daily task and begin to make some choice, to have some autonomy of what you choose to let in your day. And so here's the closing point of all of this, is that I believe happiness matters. I believe re-engaging with priorities and purpose and meaningful work matters. And I don't believe you can just come to a webinar like this and say, oh, go figure out your priorities and your purpose and find out what meaningful work is. You're going to be given the handout to help you do that. And this takes probably less than 7 minutes to look through that list and say, what are the most important things? Because Aristotle went on when he was talking about eudaimonic happiness, and he said, what's the ultimate purpose of human existence? And this is why the 7-minute life exists. Every day we wake up and every day we go to bed. And either I'm going to take 7 minutes and create a written plan of action to use my time wisely, or I'm going to blink my eyes and a day is going to have gone by. Or even more frightening, I'm going to blink my eyes and a decade is going to have gone by. And I believe the ultimate purpose of human existence is to live to your highest human good. It's that totality of your life. We get to create those things by what we deem to be most important, by the skills that we're willing to look at. So happiness, the 7-minute life, is a philosophy, principles, but it's these practices. Because I want people, again, you probably have a gazillion people sign up for how to make $100,000 using Facebook. But what do people really want? I believe they really want to live to their highest human good, the totality of one's life. So I'm going to end with this. The totality of life, it goes beyond things that are meaningful and priorities to me. The next exercise that I would encourage you to do, and you may want to take a screenshot of this, or Caleb, I'm happy to send this to you as well. I have a mission that drives me, and here are the 6 things that drive me. Clarity. I believe, Allyson, I have to have intentional goals, a driving vision. I want order and freedom in my life. Innovation, always dig deeper. Look for the unexpected, include adventure. This is what drives me. Excellence. I don't want to build the 7-minute life, okay? I want to believe that mastery is built over decades. I've spent the last 28 years reading and studying and talking to people and doing research and writing these books. I'm constantly seeking wisdom from other people and teaching them. Purpose. Purpose is always outward focus. It's how we help other people. It's about being strong intuitively and living with passion. Creativity, what's worked in the past is not going to work in the future. We're going to have to be curious. I want to truly design the unimaginable. I hope today the people on this class have never ever heard of eudaimonic happiness. And I hope it can be simple, because this kind of happiness, that's what I want. So what are some practical things? Get enough sleep, laugh at work, make a difference in the world, and be kind. So Caleb, that's what we do. And as I finish up as an entrepreneur, my hope is, and Caleb, I've been sharing with you some of the things we do, and if we have time, I'd love to share with other people. Some of you are at enterprise level companies. And as we wrap back full circle, I know there's a mental health crisis underway, that 67% of people are actively or passively disengaged. And they've been disengaged. A lot of people quit their jobs. They just haven't stopped getting a paycheck. And I want to help people understand that time management, energy, emotion, money, all of those things have to deal with well-being. And I believe we've got to learn those skills. You know, who's teaching people how to do that? So that's what we do at the 7-Minute Life, is we teach real skills on time management, fighting burnout, and work-life balance. So my end goal today is to really bring awareness. We can't solve the problem of mental health in a class like this, but boy, I think it's very powerful to bring to the forefront that things like this exist for companies. And I need help spreading the message. I'm really hoping that somebody on this call knows someone that can help us spark that, where we can find the funding to grow this. Because I guarantee you, people on this call are out there looking to have this on a week-by-week basis, to really learn it, to build a community, to talk to other people about things that matter. So Caleb, there is no big ending to this. Happiness is a foundational piece of what we teach. So I'm turning it back over to you.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing this with us, and I'll turn it over to our audience if anybody has any questions that'd like to lob at you.
And some people may not want to talk, but I'd love to see some things in chat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people are much more willing, and sometimes we don't give people enough time to chat. But we believe this is a multi-million-dollar business idea. As an entrepreneur, you got to have a problem big enough that people are willing to pay for it. And this is a big enough problem that people are living and dying because of it. So I'm going to give people a chance to put things into chat. But Caleb, it does go back. You know, here we're talking about a lot of the emotional parts of, and this is the authentic me. I've tried to be very authentic, that I may seem like a Pollyanna, but I've been through some deep places that have really brought this about. The mental health crisis in my own life, and the authenticity that these things can undergird us. But, you know, I think that it does go all the way back to, hey, yeah, you still need to learn how to read a financial statement. You still need to know how to build a pitch deck. You've got to have a lean canvas. Those things make you happy too when you're holding them in your hand. So anyway, if there are people out there, there's Eva, and I see that you're also in counseling and consulting. I think there's a mental health crisis in most places. I know there definitely is one in the UK. Wow. I read a report that stated 52% of UK workers have poor work-life balance. Imagine what that's doing to people. Thank you for sharing. Are you in the UK, Eva? Yeah. Well, we need people all around the world. These books are in 4 languages, actually, surprisingly: Turkish, Chinese, Spanish, and Korean. The Chinese version of this has done so much better in the Chinese version than in the US version.
Really? Well,
So, Caleb, any last thoughts from you?
yeah, well, if there are no questions, she's in Derbyshire in the UK. Thank you for sharing that. There are no more questions. Like you said, I'm going to send this video out to everyone that registered. I'll copy Allyson on that email as well. So if anybody has any feedback or wants to touch base with her regarding any of this, she'll be there on that email thread, in addition to the resources she mentioned. And I'll also copy links to the first 3 sessions for those that weren't able to catch those first 3 sessions. That way you can get the full four sessions in one there. So again, appreciate you all for registering and joining us today. Allyson, thank you so much for taking the time and providing this session for us. And it's great information. No more cow paths. Be intentional.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much. I hope everyone has a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Northwest Arkansas. Hope everyone has an opportunity to step outside and get a little sunshine. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.